Spokenly, I haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed of that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I have dreamed of waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I held up that cape for the last time.
Return to Kent Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andy N's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spokenly. Hi, it's Andy N from Spoken Label. Thank you today for streaming or downloading another episode of Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up on beginning of 2016 and as of speaking has currently nearly 300 sessions. The full archive is available on Spoken Label full stop bandcamp.com, although it is available for free for stream and download if you wish. I am always grateful for any sort of kind of donation to enable me to keep the running costs of this podcast going. And enjoy. Take care. Bye bye. Spoken Label.
Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house, and we're on Zoom again today. I've got a young lady with me today over from the New Jersey area in America. But a bit of a right giggle before we are talking about swearing. So if this podcast does get a bit blue, it's probably me rather than the young lady. But even though started the sound of it, she swears as much as my friend does around the corner. So right, but anyway, I've got Alise with me today. Alise how did you pronounce your name again, Alise? Is it Alise?
Versella.
Versella, that was it. Versella. I said Vencella, then I thought, well, that's wrong. Okay, Alise. Seriously, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Because I know you said you're not originally from the New Jersey area, so you said from New York, aren't you? So tell us about when you moved over to Jersey and where all your writing came from. We'll start from there.
So I'm originally born in Staten Island, New York. A little New Yorker here, but my family moved when I was little, so basically New Jersey raised, down by like Asbury Park, Seaside Heights area. So I think my writing definitely stems from being close to the sea and the pine barrens, so nature is really prevalent in my poems.
Oh, excellent. Were you writing when you were a child then, or did it come a bit later on?
Yeah, I think I started writing my first really bad poems when I was like 11 or 12. I think it was just, the angsty preteen years, the no one understands me and I can't ever get my point across and no one's listening. So I took to writing these angsty little poems. And then it metamorphosized into this much bigger thing.
I think it does, doesn't it, really, when you start writing like that. I think you have to, when you're writing poetry, and this applies to me as well as you, is you're learning from the beginning, because you can't jump in writing epic quality poetry straight away. You have to learn it, don't you? So, and hone your craft, really. So
yeah, you really find your voice.
Yeah,
like what you're actually trying to say.
No, I can believe it. And you've been doing this for quite a while as well, because you just surprised me by telling me how many books you've actually done. Because I knew of 2 of them, so I didn't know you'd done 4, right? So we'll comment on that in a minute. So when you were growing up, then obviously, was there any writers that you really liked? Was it any sort of writers that made a particular impact on you? Because I know you did a feature on the Sunday Tribune, didn't you? When you talked about one writer that you really like.
Yes, Francesca Leah Block, taking a workshop with her later on this evening. She had edited this most recent manuscript. It's a fangirl moment when your favorite author, you finally get to actually work with her. But I remember I am still such a book nerd, and I would spend all my time at the local library. And I remember the first book I read when I finally made it through the children's section was Francesca Leah Block's Weetsy Bat books. I remember picking up Witch Baby. I still remember the cover. It was a very distinct cover. Had like the like bright green cover with like bright pink writing and little skates and a bat backpack, which, you know, if you've read the book, anyone listening who's read Witch Baby would know about the bat backpack for Witch Baby. But that was the first book I read of hers, you know, as I maneuvered into the YA fiction section, and I was enamored instantly. Just it magical writing.
Well, that's really good. That I think he's always good as a writer. I think you've got to have one or two writers that when you become a writer that really, really grab you. And I've got probably two that really grab me. One's actually from your way, Paul Auster, actually. Because I absolutely adore Paul Auster, and I like one or two British poets as well. So, but yeah, I get you completely right. It's great when you see that you get your case, you're working with a writer, aren't you, tonight? That's just basically your idol. And I wouldn't even know what to say to some of my idols.
And don't they often say like never meet your idols or something like that?
Yeah, I've heard that before. So because I've had one or two idol people, musicians alike, they said to me, "Don't become friends with me. I'm not as nice a person you may think I am." Right?
Shoot.
That's why. But yeah. Anyway, so obviously we're here to talk about you and your writing, really. And I know obviously we'll talk about your 4 books in order then, because I know your first book you told me before, 5 Foot Voice, came out 10 years ago now. So now, how long did that book take to come together then? Was that book that was quite a while then, was it? Or did it come together quite quick, that one?
I feel like most of 5 Foot Voice was a culmination of all of my writing from like high school and I guess like the year and a half after. So it was really, it was easy to put together because I had all the poems there, and it was just a matter of putting them in some type of order, you know, that would make sense, and picking and choosing the best ones.
Yeah, of course. So now, obviously, looking back at this book now, 10 years later, I know what I'm like my first book. And I can be honest, admit this as part of it. I actually cringe about my very first book. But did you find, you look back at it now, is that sort of first book syndrome, isn't it? And you think to yourself, wow, I'm just such a different writer now to what I was then.
It's really true. I feel I'm proud of 5 Foot Voice. I am. And there are definitely a bunch of poems in there that I go back and I think, wow, I wrote that. But then there are so many others. I'm just like, ooh, who was I back then?
Well, I think as a writer, don't you? Like you started, like I said, over that period, and you're constantly putting books out every couple of years. I think each book's comes a reaction to the previous book. So like I think, and obviously you're starting again from scratch again, aren't you, with the first book, really? So it's like, it's going to be very different to what came later on, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like it's like the mile marker of your life, I think, each book. So like I'll go back and read 5 Foot Voice and I'm instantly thrown back into like high school, essentially, and what I was, you know, what was going on in my life at that time. And it's like a diary almost.
Yeah. No, I get that. I agree with you on that one. I think it is. Like, I know my first book came out, everything I was writing about was people I knew at the time. The partner I'd just finished from, the part I just started seeing. And it's the way, I mean, your life goes sometimes like that. And you're right. But I call it, you know what I call poetry in the book? I call it an emotional diary.
Yes.
And I think it tends to work over diary spread over a certain amount of years of each book. So, yeah. I agree with that. Okay. Well, I did say 4, people are aware you have done 4 books. So, and when did the second book come out then? Onion Heart.
Second book came out in 2012. Yeah, 2012. That was a tumultuous year for me. I'm very proud of Onion Heart.
Yeah, why Onion Heart then? Because that's an unusual title straight away.
I know, it was very much like peeling back the layers of myself I'd gone through it was a pretty traumatic like first breakup, like that initial like first real relationship, and the falling apart. And I still am young, but I was younger at the time. And just that moment of not recognizing yourself any longer after the ending of that relationship, it was a little bit traumatic. And so Onion Heart was just trying to peel away those really, like an onion has those very thin layers of skin. And that's how I felt, like very fragile. And Onion Heart was just trying to find myself again.
Right, yeah, and I get you now. Now I can see with this book, there's over 80 poems in this book. So was this book wrote almost hand in hand with the first book then? Because obviously, or did you write it all in pretty well a year and 18 months?
I feel like, it's funny. I was definitely writing a lot more back then, because I also had this bank job, and the bank was quite dead. Not a lot of people, not a lot of foot traffic. So I would kind of just write on word processor in between transactions.
Oh, wow. Well, I can say this now because I'm not out. These jobs companies have gone bust, and yeah, join the club, right? When I was younger, I can remember one place I worked at, and it's gone bust. I can say this. I mean, I'm not going to name the company. I was there for 6 months, sat in the reception desk, never seen anybody. I filled up like 2 or 3 notepads of my projected novel.
Yeah, I did some great writing at that bank.
Oh, at least we say you're honest enough to admit it. So brilliant. Okay, now what I'm curious about this book is, I know there was 9 headings in this book, wasn't there? Was this splitting it into sections planned from the beginning? Was it, or did that come later in the book?
It was the first couple books. Well, yeah, those first 2 books, because I think I had so many, and I was just trying to section them off. In because I think each poem in each section, they all shared the same integral theme. So I figured I want to put those poems together. Now that I'm older and more aware of how things work, I do have an actual, I feel like sometimes poetry books, they don't have to be read in order, but there is like an arcing theme to most poetry books. So I've learned in the years.
Yeah, join the club really, because my first book was the greatest hits really at the time. Then the next 2 books came after that were seasonal books basically. So yeah, you learn this natural progression in it. So yeah. Complete with that. So okay, and after that, I know you wrote a 3rd book as well, A Few Wild Stanzas, which I love that title. Now, when did this book come out? Did this book come out in 2013? Then did it?
It came out in 2014.
I mean, you give yourself extra years break this time, then.
That one was definitely, I was in like a very nice, happy place. I feel like that book was definitely, I think that was the book where that was the beginning of like this women's empowerment moment for myself. You could feel the divine feminine energy beginning in A Few Wild Stanzas.
Yeah, I was looking at the extracts online with this one, and like I said it with this one, did this obviously, with it taking a bit longer to write this book, did you find that your approach changed from the first 2 books then?
Yeah, it did. I think just the themes that I was covering, and I think you kind of zone in on, I guess, your personal theme. I don't know how else to say that, because it was very, at that point in my life, I was starting to find my own footing, I think.
Right, yeah, so yeah, I think you do come natural progression from book to book, and like it was, I find it interesting the fact, like obviously we touched on your first 3 books online now, and I didn't actually know there was a 4th book, and then you just told me, oh yeah, there's a 4th book now. So,
Yeah.
So when did the 4th book come out? Was that much more recently then? Was it? I presume.
Yes, it officially came out this February 25th. Came out on the night of a full moon.
Oh, that was right.
Yes, yes, which is brilliant because it's called When Wolves Become Birds. So I was very,
Brilliant.
very happy. That whole wolf girl vibe when it's coming out on a full moon. It was fantastic.
Okay, so that makes it then basically it's a 7 year gap then basically, isn't it, between the third
Yeah.
and fourth book then. So I'm presuming it. I know it took 5 years between my first two books. So did you find then the fourth book caused you, as I would say, problems?
It, I don't know if I wouldn't say it caused problems. I feel like the first three books were self-published, and I knew for this manuscript, I didn't want to self-publish again. I really wanted to try and hit that next step as a poet of being picked up by a press. So I spent that gap 6 years like submitting the manuscript everywhere under the sun. But I did so much growing and learning, and I feel like I learned so much about the business side of poetry, which sounds awful as an artist, the business side of art. But I'm really appreciative of that time. And I do think it taught me patience. And patience really is a damn virtue.
Yeah, no, I think so. As a poet, sometimes it's not like I know novelists that can put a novel out every year. But I think poetry, it doesn't operate that way at all, does it? I think
No.
you're having to force it a lot more. And I was talking to Amanda in my partner about this before, and she writes novels. She's done 6 novels now, as well as 2 poetry books. And she tells me like when you get to a certain stage in the book, you can just keep going with it. You can, even if you're hitting with a brick wall. But poetry is like it's the snapshots, aren't they? So it's
Yeah.
much harder with that one. So yeah, oh, well done. Now, okay then. Obviously, with the book coming out in lockdown, then. So yeah, that's like I said, that's when it gets fun, really, doesn't it? Trying to promote it. So now we were talking before about obviously, I know, and we're going to ask you about this next. I know you used to do a lot of readings, didn't you, in various coffee
Yeah.
houses near where you live and stuff. And tell people what the state of play is like around there at the moment, because I think it's quite interesting, actually.
It's a very it's a weird dichotomy right now because we're like kind of open but not really open. So, I mean, there are a few places. Basically, we've taken to like art galleries and we've done closed sets where just the performers will be at the art gallery and will live stream to an audience. Uh, Recently, we just found a coffee shop that is going to host monthly open mics, but they have this lovely wraparound porch. So we it's covered, we could do it
Nice.
outdoors.
Nice. I said it's good luck. Good luck with that, definitely. And let's hope then you can get yourself back indoors fairly soon and with it. So
Yeah.
because I know at the moment in our case in England, most of the pubs and bars and cafes are all still shut at the moment, but there's just starting to let people in now. But there you have like the table of 6 thing, and you can't hope to go and do nights in there at the moment.
Uh,
That's why. So but I said if the weather improves around there, there's starting to be outdoor readings coming up. So, but a lot of it just wait and see, I suppose, isn't it? So now there's a few things I want to talk to you about today, Alise, as well. Now, first one is I know you were nominated for a Pushcart Award, haven't you, for being a contributing writer to Rebel Society. Do you want to tell us about that then?
yeah. Oh, the pushcart nomination came from, and I'm still so beyond, but like beside myself that even
Oh,
happened.
that's major. That's major. Well done, seriously, for that.
I was like, what is happening right now? But Rebel Society, I really feel like that was the beginning of my quote unquote poetic career. My best friend's mom had reached out to me. She said, you should check out this place, Rebel Society. They have great work and you could, it's free to submit. So I ended up submitting a few pieces and they accepted them. And here we are all these years later. I've got contributing writer to put next to my name. And that was really, I feel like, the jumping off point for everything else, because it introduced me and opened so many doors to me. I met so many people. Catherine Schweg runs Women's Spiritual Poetry, and she had seen some of my pieces on Rebel Society, and she reached out to me if I would submit to her blog, and I did, and that's how I got into those anthologies. Their most recent one was Goddess When She Rules, and the piece I had written for that anthology is the one that got the pushcart nom. I'm very proud of it. I'm so thankful.
Should be with that one. That's excellent, really excellent going. That is so. Was that for this year then? Was it for another previous year that the pushcart nomination?
I think that was 2018.
So you weren't in lockdown getting all the nomination then, were you? So it was like you're in a normal sort of world, like thinking, wow.
I do remember though that I was sick with a cold when I got the news that I had gotten the nomination.
Oh God, yeah, completely.
It's the only thing that got me out of bed that weekend.
Oh God, yeah. It would be like otherwise you'd be like, leave me alone, I want to die. Exactly. So okay. A couple of things to finish off with today like this. I want to ask you next about, I know you've done an anthology, haven't you? Called Goddess. You've been involved with Goddess When She Rules, which raised money for the, I'm not sure, is it Malia Fund? Have I got that right? That was your latest Marla, that's it, yeah. Marla, yeah. So my mispronunciation. So do you want to tell us about that experience then?
I know it's hard.
Yeah.
That was a lovely experience, and I still go back and I reread that anthology a lot of times. It's almost become like a little Bible to reread these articles, like these little essays and poems and prose pieces. It really was that divine feminine energy and empowering for women. And it was so nice. I know that we didn't all like meet in person, but it felt like I had found this new sisterhood. Honestly, it's become like a sisterhood of women, and it's just been so satisfying to the soul, really, to have worked with them.
Understandable. How did your involvement in this project come up originally? Were you asked about this, were you?
Yes. So Catherine Schweg runs Women's Spiritual Poetry, and this is the third anthology that she decided to put together. And it was a real community effort. Like, it really is a sisterhood that put together these anthologies, and I'm so grateful to have been just a small part of it.
Oh yeah, completely. I can understand you completely. Something to be proud of. So, okay, a couple of questions. Quick couple of questions to finish off with now. So, do you have any plans for the future going forward, and what you can reveal? Any future projects?
So I am working. I have another manuscript that we're trying to get out there, a small chapbook collection. Really hoping to win some contests in my future. Fingers crossed for those.
Obviously, I can't ask you too much about that because obviously at the moment, but is that a new manuscript, or was that been wrote about around about the same time as the new collection?
It's interesting. I feel like I put out this latest collection, and pandemic, and just so much going on this past summer in America. There was a lot to write about. And to process emotionally. And I think poetry has always been the way that I process things or make sense of anything. And I know here in America, there's a lot to try and make sense of. So
it's been a lot of changes happened in America in the past year, that's for sure. And I think you're going to have a lot more to come through in the next year. And that's not getting politics. It's just been.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot to confront on many levels. So simultaneously, a new manuscript was born.
Good. Well, fingers crossed to it. So, when it comes out, come back on again. I'll love to have you on today.
Thank you.
Be a pleasure. So, okay, now if people want to find out more about you, where are they best going?
Oh, they can totally reach out to me via my website, aliseversella.com. It's got all my social media handles there. I'm mostly active on Instagram, so you could connect with me. Alise0x is my Instagram handle. But again, my website will take you to all those social medias.
And people are wondering as well, you can find links to your books on there as well. I know you've got a direct links to the book set up on each one of those three. And the fourth one will obviously be coming up shortly as well, so, which I didn't know about. So, but obviously, can all these books
in the
be found?
process of updating the website?
It will happen. Now, obviously, with the books themselves, they can be found in all the usual places, and like Amazon, can't they, etc. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to order it from your local bookstores, because we've got to support our local bookstores.
yeah,
And
ours aren't even open at the moment, so the only house is
online only. I'm very upset about that because a lot of books came out. I think it's interesting that I learned this, but some books come out first where you guys are, and then I have to wait here in America for them to be released, like American publishing date. And there was one book that come out and I was really excited for it. I wanted to order it and it wasn't out in America yet. So I ended up ordering it from Waterstones.
Yeah, that's our big bookshop. Yeah. Good one.
Thank you, Waterstones.
Brilliant bookshop, Wallstones. Wallstones, if you want to sponsor Spoken Label, please get in contact. We'd love to have you. And I'm sure Alise would like to fly over to England to do a special reading for you as well.
I would so enjoy that if Waterstones wants to carry my book on the shelf.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed then. Okay, well, seriously, that's all my questions today, Alise. So we'll let you go and take a quick break and get composed, and you're going to read out some points for us in the second half. It's been a pleasure today. I've really enjoyed this chat. It's been a great 25-minute chat this, so we really enjoyed it.
I love this.
It's been really good fun. So thank you today for that. So
thank you.
See you all in a minute.
Spoken Label.
Hey guys, still here with Alise. She's going to do a number of pieces for us now. I think Alise, you say 5 pieces did we agree, did we? Is that okay for you?
Yeah, perfect.
Over to you then, okay?
Okay. This is the title poem from the book. I'm going to start with that. When wolves become birds. Growing, snapping bones, tight skin. What shall become of werewolf girls who shave their pelts and molt feathers instead? Who at full moon seek out the stars with their wings? What happens when you finally believe you are worthy of life below this vast sky and that the sky is yours? It's hers and his and ours. The hours are counting down, and I like the sound of endless possibility. I like the sound of my heartbeats at midnight. Wolves become birds and will fly. Our howls becoming songs, mockingbirds repeat. And this is the first poem from the book. This opens When Wolves Become Birds. This is called I Have Never Written Love Poems. Never felt they gut me the way a hunter guts his kill. You need to cut open the body, disembowel it, before the innards poison the meat. You are holding on to heartbreak because it produces better poetry. The trick of it is never write a poem to live flesh. Write instead to what has passed. One day you will look upon the bloodstained forest not with regret. You will thank the deer for its sustenance and the hunter, the strong stomach needed to empty you out.
Brilliant. Really, I think the first 2 pieces go really well hand in hand there straight away. Great choices.
Thank you. This next one is called The Distance Between Two Selves.
Is this from your new book, current book as well, is it?
Yes. These are all from my most recent book, When Wolves Become Birds. The distance between two selves. Consider the distance between 2 points. The first is a height, the second the fear of the climb. And the distance extends out like a telescope the farther a star moves away. In this way, wings betray a blue jay. But consider the altitudes a body can reach. Like a body asleep projects the soul to an astral plane, how a dream given branches builds a nest, a home, and does not second guess feathers left to compost. Heavy may be the bags of bitter salt that break open like the earth or the heart. Heavy-handed, it spreads like chaos, the load trusted more than the ability to bear it. The lover considered foolish, how she lets her body burst forth with brilliant understanding of what it means to love someone as much as she loves herself. Stop trying to calculate what can't be measured. Like ocean fathoms and familiar phantoms, their hauntings mistaken for friendship. Trust again in the night sky. Do not mourn the fading of its stars as they burn, scorching the arid dirt. You are the sapling reaching, but you are not the binding root. And your tears will not set the ground aflame. They extinguish the thirst of so many choking doves. Darling, the mountain is never the obstacle. It has always been your fear of the stumble. Do you think all fledgling birds consider distance before they learn flight? No, they simply fly.
Ooh, excellent ending there. Excellent. Nice. Again, you can see that they're all from the same period of time with this poems. You can feel it quite well concise together there. That's quite a bit longer, that one, isn't it, than the first two poems that one did you find? So, but were the poems in the book, were they varying all the time? Were they in lengths and styles a bit for you?
I feel like most of the poems in this collection are a bit shorter, because I feel like I learned how to be more concise. Sometimes it's very hard for me. I could go on writing some lengthy poems sometimes.
I think sometimes the crunch point is knowing when to stop. And as a writer, if you're learning how to do that, that's a good point.
It's so hard, right? Because that instantly you have to be able to edit yourself. And it's very hard to like throw away something. And sometimes I'll find myself, okay, we're going to throw away this whole stanza. It's gone now. But it does, and I joined a poetry group that we meet monthly, and we would critique each other's work. So I thank them really, because I've learned, I think, how to write a more concise and clear poem. Critique helps.
Yeah, a good group definitely helps that one, because
Absolutely.
when I first got into poetry, before properly, you could say, when about 2009, 10 territory, it was the same for me. I went into a group in Manchester, and I learned a lot from them. And it's a good group. If you listen to people, you can learn a lot from. Excellent. Okay, on to your fourth poem now.
Yeah, I think, we're going to do this one. I really like performing this poem. So this is called For All the Dreams I Still Have Yet to Dream and All the Dreams Once Had. I said, I want to cast spells, mother. Let the pearls drip forth from the oyster shell of my mouth. I want to taste the cities, mother. Hold the earth like a lover holds my hips above the ledge of his. I won't hold secrets and empty promises. I want blood oath and lightning strikes, terror and the shriek of a nightmare, jolting me alive, nocturnal birds once the day sets. Watch the girls as they set their masks down, embrace our dark nights and vulnerability, that I still cry and shout so you can hear me. Over the sting in my throat, the sting of the salt, these crusting waves, I swear to God, one day I'm going to drown in. But for now, I'm learning how to float, how to sip of love and not get drunk. Oh, how the tide wants to pull me back with her. But I am still a stubborn woman, mother. I am learning how to take a fighter stance on shifting plates. I try to pirouette and I am graceless. But thank God for that. Thank God for my vulgar mouth and my two small hands. They hold this bleeding organ like an offering to no God at all but my younger self, that Holy Ghost, haunting skeletal halls that creak a little more upon waking now. Kneecaps remember what it was like to run, hunched, howling, because it hurt to learn I must become a beast. Some of us never shed the pelt for wings, forget we were made for skies, and we make our own heavens from the pearly gates of our teeth. A smile that bites back, like a dog in the junkyard, a warning behind a chain link fence. We were all born in the gutter with our eyes full of stars, mother. Maybe we did fall to Earth from Mars, but I still believe in what we've been building here, even if we burn it down daily. Aren't we all witches set to burn at the stake daily? Joan of Arc, and maybe I am crazy. Crazy as my feet levitate from the grass, as I dance and spin, righteous, divine, like a dervish. I spin in the grass and the dew wets my cheeks. I think I'm crying. For all the lost souls who once held mad dreams, foaming like the seashore at the mouth of their bays. There is no jetty jagged enough to break my wake. Oh, I am dreaming, mother. Do not attempt to wake me.
I'm hoping that poem's not about your mum there. We'll just move on. I think definitely fantastic stuff again. I really enjoyed
like
that.
There are a lot of times, family members they'll say something and it kind of just strikes something within me that I have to, it's almost like a response. It's not completely directed. It kind of morphs into the generalized. There's a poem in this book. My dad had said something about my vulgar mouth, and I kind of it morphed into this greater piece about the patriarchy.
Yeah, and it probably, from what I could understand, it probably had about 40 F-bombs in it as well. Well, of course, we're not going to hear any of that today, of course. So, okay, we're on to the finale now. If I could play a trumpet, at least I'd have the big trumpet finale for you now.
Drum roll. This is the final poem in the book. It's called A Walking Verse of Poetry. Look how far you've come, how glorious you've become, how much lighter and free, how strong, self-assured. Goddamn, girl, how good it feels to love your fucking self, to have gone after your dreams. Look at all you have achieved, this body, this walking verse of poetry. How delicious it all tastes now that I no longer hold my tongue. Watch me, the wolf girl shedding a coarse pelt. Watch me soar like a hawk. It feels so good to dig these talons through the dirt, fuck it all up. The grave they tried to dig for me, I made an Eden of it. Thank you.
Wow, you caught me out then. What people wouldn't know is obviously when the poets are talking in the poem second half, I always mute myself, and I thought myself after the last two poems, I thought Alise would have carried on for a little bit longer. We didn't. You caught me completely out then. Tremendous. No, really good way of finishing. It's been a pleasure today. I've really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
As Don Callis says, everybody, stay safe and stay over. And we'll see you all soon. Take care, guys. And thank you again, Alise.
Spoken, mate.